playmaking. Those star players are willing to play things like Yasuo, Yone, and those fun to watch champions that maybe you don't see as often in competitive play at the pro level. But as far as the bans goes, there's a little bit across the board. A couple junglers. Yumi, that's a curious one for me, I gotta say, Greyheart, because I don't think she's that strong after the preseason changes to items.
I don't disagree with you. However, I know my duo Q partner definitely would, tends to ban the cat out in every single game, whereas I tend to focus on another cat with the damage that's been coming through from the on-hit Katarina recently. Olaf is something we've been seeing rising to prominence. That is going to be banned away, most likely from MGL in the jungle. Seraphine, the final ban coming out of Seton Hall. Butler with one still to ban after taking away the Ornn.
Yeah, it looks like Seton Hall wants none of that Moonstone combo with the Staff of Flowing Water that we've seen taking over competitive League of Legends. They're going to get rid of those two healed shield champions in the bottom lane. I'm curious to see Ornn taken away. I haven't seen that showing up so often, but it's important to note Viego is also just not available for competitive play on this patch. Maokai.
Sorry, man, after you.
No, yeah, I'm thinking, well, Maokai is generally a top laner throughout his history in League of Legends. Recently, that's been more of an extremely aggressive support pick. The saplings can give really good control of the brushes, and the point and click insta root with flash or hex flash even can be very scary to play against.
Absolutely. It's one of the main things that seems to be finding prominence in the bot lane. The opposite of what can be said for Pantheon, a champion that we saw finally banned out there by Butler, something that seems to have moved from the support role, mostly back in towards the jungle for its prominence. Misfortune is going to be the first pickup in ADC alongside this Galio for Butler.
Yeah, Galio is one of those counter picks then to the support Maokai in bottom lane. He's got the magic damage shield that can kind of mitigate some of the sapling poke if necessary. And if you're just going to play hard engage with the Maokai, then Galio can mitigate that as well with the taunt or knocking up his opponents or joining a team fight in the river, any sort of skirmish there with his ultimate after level 6. So it's a great pickup there on the side of Butler to kind of counter that Maokai engage. We'll have to see if Misa's really prepared to deal with that matchup.
Yeah, Superman, at the beginning of the preseason patch, Misfortune was one of the three main champions that seemed to rise to the ascendancy because of the way lethality items were working. It's fallen off a little bit with some of the changes. On the other hand, Kai'Sa feels very much like the S+ ADC at the moment. Yeah. That one has been locked in over on the side of Seton Hall. Echo locked in alongside it, and I'll tell you what, hate seeing that in my solo queue games.
Echo, very scary. Any of those dive champions can be a doozy to play against. Of course, it's a blind pick under the assumption that Galio is that support pick, meaning there's an option for Levi to get a counter in mid lane. It looks like they may save it for an actual final pick. A curious choice, seeing as there's 2 bans left for both teams.
I think you are probably right that it's most likely to be a mid lane Echo, but of course there is the opportunity for that to be flexed into the jungle. The Camille on the other side, that lock-in certainly likely to be the top laner for Butler. As we look towards our second set of bans, it's going to be the Renekton, which had such high priority yesterday in the LEC taken away. Gragas, the other champion that was prioritized in the LEC yesterday. We'll see if that one starts to come through. It's going to be not an Eco, but a Lilia ban and a Cho'Gath ban followed up.
Yeah, and that's a third top lane ban on red side, which tells us clearly Butler wants to enable the Camille you mentioned in the top lane and try and get a split push going early, a lot of early advantages. I would really be curious to see what Butler probably picks up right here on this pick for jungle to make that 2v2 top lane between top jungle duo very, very one-sided. That seems to be their strategy moving forward.
Well, not going to be able to pick up the Hecarim because that was the final ban out of Seton Hall, so no option to take up either of those champions that like to rip through the Raptors in the Hecarim or the Lilia. Instead, it's going to be the Sejuani, bringing something a little bit different to the Rift.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic pickup. Because Camille has some auto attack resets in her kit, Sejuani's passive works off of melee auto attacks landing on their opponents. That can be really good duo in the top lane, and the long lane is really hard to play when you don't have eyes on a Sejuani who could show up out of nowhere with that Glacial Prison. Looks like Poppy's going to get picked up. Probably top lane, I want to say. I mean, you mentioned Echo's the flex pick as well. We'll get some answers here in about 6 seconds, but Poppy can do fine into Camille because she can mitigate the engage, but you're never going to have kill threat in reverse. That's kind of the problem you run into.
The lock-in of the Trundle pretty much confirms that your original assumptions were right there, Superman. It seems likely that is, for it to be Poppy up on the top side, Maokai support, Echo in mid, and the Trundle jungle. Of course, there are so many potential flex picks there that it could still wave all the way around, maybe deciding to pick what they want into the various lanes. Trundle, something that's just been patched in the most recent preseason, been buffed in the most recent preseason patch. That's surprisingly hard to say. Orianna, on the other hand, one of those steady team fight stalwarts that we always seem to see in League.
Yeah, I like the Orianna pickup here. It really rounds out the team fight composition. Yes, they want Camille to split push as much as possible, but they were missing a little bit of damage, really only having Misfortune to put that out in like a 4v4 skirmish. So it's fantastic to see Orianna there, who can easily follow up a Sejuani engage with a Shockwave combo. I like this for Butler. They do have a little bit of everything, a little bit of split push, a little bit of team fight, a little bit of wave clear, and quite a fair split of damage as well. I'm a little worried about the heavy magic damage that's on blue side here for Seton Hall. Yes, Kaisa is an AD carry by trade, but there's a lot of magic damage that comes through from her kit. You'll maybe have a share of true damage from the Kraken Slayer that's likely to be built as her mythic. But I worry that Sejuani, Galio, these champions love to build magic resist, and they can get quite tanky very quickly.
They could indeed. The question is, are they going to be able to shut down these key targets, the Kai'Sa and the Echo, as we come into the fights? Superman, you talked earlier on about legacy names returning for this latest season of Big East. I'd like you for a moment to switch off nameplates in your head. Have a little look at these two compositions. I feel like I get a bit of an idea based on what you've just said, but which of the compositions would you say you favor the most coming into this game?
Well, they are really designed to do different things. There's not a great team composition here on blue team for late game team fights. You really need to split that up and turn it into smaller skirmishes. And red team is the opposite. They've got hard engage and they really want to group up as at least 4 members and look for those full team fights. However, I give a small edge to Seton Hall's blue team draft because they have so much immediate hard CC that's point and click, which tends to favor them in early game skirmishes, because if they want to lock down these damaging champions like Misfortune, like Orianna, especially the Misfortune early, who has no dash in her kit when Flash is on cooldown, they may have the edge in early game skirmishes, which could give them an early game lead and snowball into a victory before Butler can get to the point where they just dominate team fights.
I like what you're saying there, but if we do manage to get into those team fights anywhere near equal, I'd love to see what Butler can do. There are so many cool combinations that you can have there. The Hextech Ultimatum from Camille, the Sejuani Ultimates coming through, and hopefully not sticking true to the LCS name and going full Xmithy on them. And then, of course, followed up with the bullet time from Misfortune, the shockwaves from Orianna, all of that with Galio's heroic entrance, diving down on top, providing CC. Incredible wombo combo if it comes off. As you say, it's going to be really, really tricky potentially for Butler to even get to that stage, because Seton Hall do have a lot of ways to take the early game advantage. If you're out there in Twitch chat and you're following one of these teams, either you really like one of the comps or you're actually cheering for that particular, or then please drop us a message in Twitch chat. Let's see who is being the most heavily favored out there from our viewers.
Yeah, Greyheart, you mentioned it's really wombo combo red team and scrappy little skirmishes for blue. Seton Hall wants to get those early picks, and if all ultimates are up, I gotta say Butler has the opportunity to just pentakill with a bullet time that everybody's locked in place. You could have some really exciting team fights that evolve throughout this match here on the Rift, and I'll be excited to see how laning phase goes, because I think it's really up to these junglers who are both tanks and can't really fight each other that much early on, and we'll be seeing where they put their pressure in terms of laning phase.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a play-by-play caster, those are the team fights I absolutely live for. We'll look forward to as that happens, as we sort of approach probably around about the 20-minute mark. As astute viewers and listeners may have picked up on, slight difference in the accents coming from your two casters today. Jake Superman Mori, he is someone with a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the collegiate scene in NA, having come from that part of the world himself. I'm on the other side of the pond, coming to you from the UK, where things are undeniably a little bit darker outside my window than they probably are for Jake right now.
True. Yeah, it's pretty much the middle of the day here over in North America, where I was earlier before this broadcast. I said it's about supper time, and I'm not a master of accents myself, but I thought I would poke some fun. Yeah, we're ready to bring you some action on the Rift, that's for certain. And I've got my eyes on bottom lane early on, Greyheart. I really liked the Maokai first pick because he's such an aggressive support, and he really is kind of two-dimensional. I won't call him one-dimensional because he can really control the lane with the saplings. It helps him decide if how the poke war will go, and if he wants to help quickly push a lane with those empowered saplings. But he, of course, has that point and click engage. But Galio does a lot of the same things, a little bit more on the engage heavy side or counter engage side. So both of these supports really have to pick the perfect fights to enable their team to have some victory on the bottom side of the map.
One of the things with the Maokai, which I find really interesting, which honestly I'd never given any thought to before watching, I believe it was one of Vedius's videos recently in the picks to watch coming into the new season, was actually how the team opposite to the Maokai can actually use the saplings should they know where they are and bring them out to actually help with wave management. You can force essentially a team to push in faster just by bringing them in, bringing out those saplings at the right time, crushing them into the minions, making a wave push harder against you. So actually, Maokai has to be quite careful with that. Also, I find it quite interesting that we have. I almost wish I could see these two ADCs with the opposite support. I feel like the harass that the Misfortune Maokai lane could put down would be absolutely disgusting, whereas paired with the Galio may have to play a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, for sure. If you went like double Comet in bottom lane, maybe you won't have as much strength in a team fight later, but laning phase is basically over if you had a double Comet lane with the Misfortune and happen to be paired with the Maokai. But that's not the case this time around. We've talked about the engage and counter engage. When it comes to just the 80 carries against each other, I have to give the edge to Misfortune. You can go a slightly tankier build if you want to stack some Dorans, like old patches have inspired 80 carries to do, or you can go those early lethality that really was her claim to fame in preseason. Either one of those means you're either impossible to kill on the tankier side of things, or you go that lethality, and people got to be careful if they step within auto attack range or the double up range, which is even further when the minions are around. It can be a lot of early game damage, and you got to be careful trying to engage on that Misfortune. She may not be the most mobile of carries due to the lack of dash or positioning tool in her kit, but with the strut passive, she's got a lot of movement speed to decide the auto spacing between her and her ranged matchups.
Soups, as we wait here to jump into the Rift, which I'm eagerly anticipating right now, I do that thing which no play-by-play caster should ever do, and I turn my eyes towards Twitch chat because, you know, I asked them who they're going to be cheering for, and it is pretty much resoundingly looking like people are cheering for Seton Hall coming into this one.
Fantastic. I'm glad to see the fans coming out strong here for the first week of the Big East Conference. I'm excited to see the gameplay. I can't wait for it because this is where we get to find out what the teams are all about. Who are the star players? Which teams are favored to maybe make it to the playoffs and do well in the postseason? Getting a little ahead of myself because it is week one, but I can't wait to see how these teams do.
Yeah, you know, there's no reason not to go and think about these times. It's not getting ahead of yourself at all, because actually, this is a place where you literally put your first foot out and hope that it lands on good hard soil, because if it doesn't and you stumble here, you're going to be fighting back to try and get those placings. So we'll see whether it's going to be Seton Hall or Butler who step out best in this game. We're almost on to the Rift. We're just waiting for the final few connections to come through. Then we're going to be bringing you all this action as it happens. I'm so stoked to be casting my first game here for EGF.
Very excited. Sounds like we're loading onto the Rift. I said eyes on the bottom lane for the first while because it can be so volatile. Both supports have the opportunity to just lock on and choose a fight at will, but the enemy support has that same choice. So it really comes down to how the junglers want to play around, if they want to show up to bottom lane early to play off of that volatility, or maybe Greyheart will see a little less volatile because everybody knows how scary that could be, and we might have a quiet early game. I'm not hoping for that myself, though. I love those early skirmishes.
Superman, I'm something of a veteran in the UK university scene, similar to your collegiate leagues over here, which of course you're so experienced with. And I'll tell you what, it's still the same old Rift, it's still the same old champions, it's still the same old sepia pause screen. This is something I'm very used to. So we've got a little bit more time to fill as we talk about these teams and how they'll potentially progress through this tournament. You talked earlier on about how you recognise a couple of those players. You knew a little bit about their champion pool. Any particular predictions of players who you expect to be coming in strong and trying to make maybe the newer players coming here into this tournament feel a little bit scared, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta as you said, put your best foot forward and make some decisions as in the draft to begin with. And we've seen now that completed. And then it comes down to execution in game, right? Who are you going to play around? Who's your superstar, and how do you actually want to make that happen?
Well, I guess we'll find out as we get into this game. Even though there are certainly players who we know from those legacy players you talked about, will they be able to produce the same results as they have in previous seasons? Nothing particularly exciting to talk about as I quickly scan across these items. We are just waiting on one of the players, I believe from Seton Hall, to get connected to obviously make sure it's a perfectly fair matchup straight away. Interesting one, the Poppy into the Camille. Obviously, with that steadfast presence, you have the ability to block out so much of the mobility that Max Camille is going to bring.
Yeah, on either end of a fight too, and that's the important part. Is you can save that steadfast presence to disable Camille's escape tool if you're already in melee range, or if you're worried about it getting engaged on Camille setting something up for the Sejuani, then you can use steadfast presence on the front end to also give yourself a boost of movement speed to get away from a potential engage. So top lane should be really interesting, to say the least. Camille is clearly what the red team has drafted around to try and get her going early. They're really the only split push threat, because you're not really going to use Galio's global as a support for him to try and wave clear a side lane, which really leaves that duty to either teleport here on Orianna or, of course, the classic top laner split push, probably with a Tiamat in that build. So you got to get that going early. Otherwise, Poppy actually can wave clear just fine herself. Tends to build a Sunfire equivalent and push with that Immolate passive with a little bit of the AoE from her Q. So you want to get that Camille set up to bully the matchup early and often.
My one request to you is the same as the name of the jungler for Seton Hall. Please be patient. We'll bring you this game just as quickly as we can. We'll get to see Please Be Patient and the rest of the team going up against Butler as they fight this one out in this first game of this broadcast. It is a best of one matchup. This is not a best of three. There will be no side swap at the back of this game. It will be a straight out winner takes all match. As I look, turning my attention away from that Poppy over to the other side of the rift, I look at Sejuani, and every time I see a Sejuani locked into one of these games, I start looking at how many melee champions there are on their side, how much easier it's going to be to gank any of these lanes. Top side, bottom side, both got a melee champ that's going to be able to help stack that Sejuani that little bit quicker.
Yeah, and especially because Camille has an auto attack reset in her kit, she can quickly stack up that passive. That's why I wonder how much Trundle will give attention to the top lane, because he won't actually be the strongest of counter ganks. In fact, his Pillar of Ice can be used as a tool, either for engage or escape by the Camille. It's kind of a volatile situation to play around. So he can do his best to keep Poppy safe, but I think if Butler plays it properly, they can really snowball through top lane, and there's only so much Trundle can do about it without just entirely wasting his time. I would like to see Trundle spending a lot more of his time in bottom lane or mid lane, using that Pillar of Ice to slow someone like a Misfortune who doesn't have a dash to get around it or past it. Same with an Orianna who, yes, has a movement speed buff in her own kit if she doesn't want to use it as an aggressive spell, but can get locked down and then killed. So I would love to see Trundle almost put caution to the wind and abandon the top lane matchup, because the best he can do is just avoid losing. And generally in competitive esports, you don't play to not lose, you play to win. And I think the best way to do that is get Kai'Sa or Echo rolling.
Okay, well, again, just waiting to bring into that game as quickly as we can. It sounds like the players are almost ready. Both of the junglers opting in, of course, to the change into the Chilling Smite version of the jungle item. That's a jungle item that will be disappearing from inventory after 5 smites. This is one of the pre-season changes. You take the blue one, you get a Chilling Smite. You take the red one, you get a Challenging Smite. And it's going to be us getting onto the Rift as well. So we're going to get to see the first of those smites very, very shortly. And both these teams stacking themselves out in the defensive formation.
Yeah, you said it's the 5-point strategy for early on. We're not going to get an invade either way, which, is indicative of game one, week one of a new tournament. Neither one of these teams really want to overextend themselves a little bit too much and get the season off to a rocky start. But on top of that, Greyheart, we haven't talked about mid lane very much yet. What do you think of, I know I'm a little turning the tables here. I'm the color caster here, play-by-play, but I'll throw you under the bus and ask you what you think about the Echo versus Orianna matchup.
That's a great question. Were I to have nameplates off and not have the benefit of what you spoke to me earlier, I would say it's all about Windy Day coming in, trying to be as aggressive as possible in lane, shoving up, trying to then impact other lanes if not able to get the solo kill onto the Orianna. Orianna's just going to be that little bit more stable. Obviously, has reasonable wave clear after a certain level and is going to bring so much to the team fights. It's basically the difference between an assassin and a control mage. That's what it comes down to. So that would be how I see it. How about yourself?
I mean, yeah, you basically covered all the points, especially with the phase rush here for Levi. It's going to be hard for him to be susceptible to Windy Day's aggression in the lane itself, which is great because then he can get himself to the point where he's contributing more in team fights rather than trying to take on an assassin in a 1v1, which then means Windy Day's job isn't to try and solo kill anymore. It's use the fact that he can push and be aggressive to then impact other lanes. I think he nailed it, and we'll watch to see if that's exactly what he does.
Cool. Oh man, I feel under pressure now after that. That's it's not very often I get the joy of getting to bring my colour to the game. Meanwhile, colour down the bottom side of the rift is going to be looking good for the Blues so far as they take the better of the early trades. Misfortune already chugging away at those potions is going to be with just the Darn's Blade for the healing now. Already saplings coming out and doing decent damage. Galio taking down below half as well.
When they're about to hit level 2, this could be really scary with Misfortune at half.
It's not looking ideal for the Butler bot lane. Meanwhile, the mid lane is certainly drawing the attention from Twitch chat as both Levi and Windy Day getting some shout outs from their followers. And can I just take a moment to say, well done, Twitch chat. You're far more polite than the UK university scene Twitch chat is. See how long it lasts.
For now, before some solo kills come out, and then we might see them getting a little bit more riled up. But yeah, top lane, solo lane, just doing the classic wet noodle fight of these two early game champions. They're just trying to put out a little bit of poke. Speaking of poke, bot lane's doing fine as well with that wave in a precarious position for this point on the game timer. You can see blue team pushed up, and both junglers are in that bot side river, and with the Scrying Orb kind of procced, you may see a little skirmish in the river. Let's take a look at that.
Trundle stepping forward, just trying to make sure that he's absolutely got as much of that priority towards the bot side scuttle crab as possible as it spawns. That one's going to be taken away right under Sejuani's nose, who's going to settle for the Grump instead.
Yep, and there was a little bit of a sacrifice from Kaiser's health to make that happen. She was stepped up aggressively to cut off that path for reinforcements, and there's the aggression out of mid lane. You know, CS numbers across the board are relatively even. You see Misfortune using her poke advantage to get some for herself, almost a full wave actually this early. But ouch, mid lane, Levi's out of mana.
The Control Mage getting the better of that duel, really forcing Windy Day away. Still has the flash remaining, should be not under any danger of dying given the Butler Levi's current mana pool. Meanwhile, on the top lane, we see that Camille is consistently forcing Poppy down under turret. Has got a nice 6 CS advantage in the early.
Yeah, that mid lane trade there was certainly not in favor of Windy Day, and he's been punished to go straight back to his fountain, pick up a little bit of health regen off the platform, and head back in. He's going to miss a few CS for this, and the only reason he didn't miss more is because he has that minion dematerializer that helped him try and wave clear before he gets his AP.
I think I'm right in saying that Windy Day had the refillable potions, the corrupting potions beforehand, and now it's got the Dark Seal on top of that. So you're going to get a little bit more from each of those potions courtesy of the Dark Seal. Still not the sort of favourable back. Meanwhile, on the other side, a bit of extra magic resist for Orianna. Butler Levi really just saying, you know what, I'm absolutely not wanting to die in this lane and give the assassin a chance to get snowballing.
Indeed. Yeah. Just that more survivability, and that's definitely the correct choice, because we talked about it. Levi's job isn't to solo kill the assassin that's probably got more kill threat against him. It's just to survive to the point where his team can group up, fight over an early game Drake, and really try and make the game work for them from there. But junglers have been relatively quiet, not making a lot of plays on the map so far, Dreyhart. Now we see both of them have edged towards the top side of the map, but with the vision in play and Poppy recalled, probably not going to see any actual action just yet. I want to see them return to mid lane. As those level 6s hit, you can only imagine how scary it'll be for Sejuani to come out of Fog of War and hit you with that Glacial Prison, lock you down, especially if Echo has struggled to get that experience being forced back to base once already.
Level 6 is being hit in the solo lanes is usually my favourite part of the early game when we've not seen quite so many skirmishes. You know you've got that opportunity for one button press to mean potential deletion of somebody's health bar. Obviously, for Windy Day, it's actually a case of pressing that button to restore your health bar and perhaps possibly to delete at the same time from the opposition if your shadow happens to be close enough to them.
Yeah, and Twitch chat, I have seen Seton Hall play many times before in my time here watching Big East in previous seasons. I haven't seen Butler that far yet, so I may rely on you guys to tell me a little bit more about who you think will come out ahead between Levi and Windy Day, because in my experience, Windy Day is like known for solo killing his opponents, and especially on assassin picks, super mobile champions like the Yasuo and Yone that are more his namesake, and of course Echo, who can do a lot of the same types of things. I'm worried for Butler if they can't shut this guy down even more than they have thus far. We'll be watching to see if that assassin can get that backline access.
Windy Day looking for that aggression, tumbling forward. Ultimate's now available for both of these mid laners. A better trade this time round for Windy Day. Our first dragon in the game is going to be a Cloud, which means we're going to have one of those 3 more interesting souls to arrive in a few dragons' time. Meanwhile, massive aggression being put down by Crop. And now it's going to be turned around as the root is going to connect straight onto the Galio, who tries to dash forward, dash back to the Justice Punch is blocked. The flash over the wall, the taunt is channeled. It is going to be survival for the Galio, but at the cost of his summoners.
Yeah, first couple summoners have been used. Flash away from that support, which is really important tool. You can't really be the front line or counter initiation that you need without that flash available, either aggressively or defensively for those reasons. And without that tool available, it might be difficult to take an early game skirmish again in the river. I expect the Dragon then to be picked up by Seton Hall, unless they get pinched here.
Oh, Sejuani is looking to try and turn things around, having Orianna for support. Here comes the 2 from the bottom. As you say, the pincer movement coming together, but the 4v3 doesn't quite work out. Shockwave has not been pulled just yet as it becomes a 4v4. Echo joining the fray. Good damage being put down onto Butler. Seton Hall looking to get first blood, but it's going to be the Malco who runs away, allowing Poppy to pick up the first of the kills. Having teleported down, a well-worth sacrifice, losing CS in top lane to pick up a double kill in bot. Well played, Butler.
And they might be looking for a miniature dive now. They'll just back off and take what they came for. I gotta say, Blurber's internet connection may have delayed him getting into this game at the front end, but it did not slow his brain power from just going Cosmic Brain, seeing Butler had already used teleport in the top lane to send Camille up there, and immediately he teleports to bottom lane to punish the lack of the flash from Mojo Romo. That's first blood and a second kill to boot for Blurber in the top lane, and that really throws a wrench in Butler's plan to get top lane rolling. You could see there was a 30 CS advantage already brewing for the Camille, but that's all but deleted now with the 2-kill lead that Poppy's got for himself.
Slight mistake there from Windy Day, taking a turret shot or 2 for his trouble, but you're absolutely right. There was a slender gold lead that had been built up by Butler on the back of this CS lead that had been gained by the Camille. That's all gone now as we see the gold directly equal on the back of first blood and second blood coming in for Blurber. If I could just ask our fantastic production, who is that is in the week today, to switch on player names, on summoner names. If you pop into interface in the options, that would really help me out calling the fights. You probably have to press escape to bring up the interface. Just show some of the names. It's a little bit down. A little bit further. Or is it? I thought it was. Maybe it's not. Fabulous. Well, this is going to be good fun for me. Maybe it's in game, possibly?
Show names.
There we go.
There we go.
Way, my life is saved. Thank you, Reef. You are a hero.
Fantastic. Yeah, so, I mean, what we're looking at now is if we were expecting Butler to play through top lane, that becomes additionally expensive, honestly, at this point, because now you must commit perhaps even an Orianna in addition to a Sejuani to turn this lane around. That's why you can see they're kind of edging up towards that top lane now, playing around the Herald, and there you go. Poppy, that's all she can do right now is just counter every kind of engage that Mac wants to try and do, and it's only going to get worse from here with all the armor stacking up for Poppy.
Trundle is going to spot Sejuani out, trying to take this Herald, and suddenly it is a race to join teammates at the Herald on the top side of the river. Sejuani seems to have won this one out, managing to get the smite, secure the Herald. Mac was obviously able to zone for Blurber away, just about enough with that Camille.
just enough indeed. And it was quickly picked up, but you can see I have the Herald now in MGL's inventory. We'll be curious to see where he actually decides to pop that eye. Will it be mid lane to free up Levi a little bit more, get those plates before the 14-minute mark, or will it be to turn around that gold in top lane, give a little bit more over to Mac, maybe even give him solo plates with that Herald? But there's a fight brewing in the bottom lane.
Nako throws out the ult, doesn't quite connect onto Mojo Rome, but he tries to get heroic entrance to be a heroic exit. It is cancelled out as Crop finds himself his first kill of the game.
Yeah, that's just the foresight here of Seton Hall to once again punish this flashless Galio. He's not that mobile of a champion. He's got a little bit of a dash in his kit, but you can interrupt it. And without that flash, he definitely doesn't have the mobility to get over all these walls, the terrain that surrounds bottom lane. So they catch him out in the river. That's going to be the second time he falls. And now that he's fallen so far behind as that tank champion, he might not be able to do his front lane duties.
And was missing the ultimate for a key amount of time as well. Meanwhile, Misfortune, who could do with a heroic entrance coming in from Galio, just about now loses half of the health as we see Kai'Sa shredding through the health bar and getting closer and closer to being able to pick up that Kraken Slayer as well. Meanwhile, in mid, credit to Levi, who is staying just slightly up on CS over Windy Day, who hasn't been able to impact the map in perhaps the way they would have liked to.
Oh yeah, Butler across the board is outperforming their counterparts in the CS numbers, and that translates to experience too. And the important part there is, look at this, level 8 Misfortune. Yes, she's lost her support a couple of times already, but she's kept the CS numbers up, bringing herself to a significant experience advantage over her counterpart in the Kai'Sa, and that is actually key for what Butler wants to do. We talked about how they want the split push in top lane, but that is their secondary win condition. The primary one is a 4v4 team fight. 5v5 if top laners want to party, but we talked about in Champion Select and loading into Summoner's Rift that we're going to have a fight.
That's going to be a really nice steadfast presence, just completely denying Mac's ability to get on top of this one. MGL not throwing out the ultimate this time, perhaps going to pop down that Herald that we saw secured earlier on. We are going to see Trundle waiting in the wings just to help out the Poppy should needs be. I want to ask you for your thoughts, Soups, on Burbler's build on this one, opting straight in, unsurprisingly, into those Tabby, into those Plate Steel guards, and going for the Bramble Vest rather than building towards a Mythic early.
Yeah, I think many people have discovered that rushing a Mythic is not always efficient on especially tanks, unless you're looking for, if they lock to the Iron Trolley for active for your team as a support player, or if you're really hoping to continuously trade, like non-stop, as like a Shen, with some of those Aegis immolate items, then stacking some early resist, some health, and especially Grievous Wounds from that Bramble can be very good for you. But there's fight to be due.
Aggression from Mojo Robo is going to have the two-man taunt disabled, and he's having to flash away, caught by Lon the Bullet time. It's going to be Mac throwing down the Hextech ultimate into finding one, trying to get out to safety, managing it so far as the three-man shockwave comes through from Levi. Damage still running down from Lon Storm on the Misfortune, looking to get a first kill of the game. Not quite happening. Please patient, continues to step forward, already having used the subjugate. It's worn out, and there's Lon Storm's first kill of the game. The beautiful heal, timing it perfectly to find the kill onto Please Be Patient. There is a second dragon on the map. It's going to be an equalization of dragons for sure, but Mojo Robo will give his life as he's caught out by Crop on the backside.
All right, Lundstorm and Crop are showing why they are the carries of their team. AD carries, making them flashy plays, forwards, backwards. They're even going to look for extra on Mac here. I don't know if they can actually take him down.
It's actually Mac who decided to try and go aggressive as Lundstorm was rejoining, but yet again you see that steadfast presence coming to such good use. It's going to be such a key move later in the game as Burbler looks to stop some of these engages onto his carries.
All right, and I gotta say, it's funny, I was talking about how inefficient it can be to rush a Mythic, but it was the Gale Force active from Lundstorm that got him that sweet kill, lunging forward and taking down that first kill of that team fight, which netted them a dragon as well. And the Mountain Drake is not to be scoffed at. You've got two tanks that really want to soak up a lot of damage, and them being able to have the bonus resist from a Mountain Drake is going to do a lot to make that a possibility for him.
So those of you who have been watching for the last season or so will know that with the two first dragons having met their demise, we now know exactly which soul we'll be looking towards. It is an infernal rift, so much extra damage that can come through for the assassins, for the carries in these teams. That is certainly something that both these teams will want to get their hands on. It's going to be delayed, however, by the fact the dragons are one apiece as it stands, so it'll have to be 3 infernal dragons secured by a team for them to get towards that soul.
which makes it extra scary for whomever might get that soul this game. If somebody can actually get 3 Infernal Drakes and then they've got the soul on top of it, team fights become literally explosive. And you can only imagine if Butler's team comp, who's already designed to one-shot your whole team in a wombo combo, if they get that additional burst from the soul, I think it's lights out for Seton Hall. But that's a long ways off. I gotta say, Greyheart, it looks okay for Seton Hall from where I'm sitting. They're slightly down in gold, but the kill score is in their favor, and those CS numbers are actually starting to become very, very close. I'm looking here at the bottom lane. Kaisa picked up a couple of kills, is able to now complete her Kraken Slayer and boots, gives her a little bit more mobility and quite substantial DPS in the team fights when she can reposition herself and honestly team up with Windy Day for backline access. If you take out Lundstorm, who's really the solo carry at this point in the game before Levi can scale, then where's the damage for Butler? It's just not there yet.
Tell you what though, Soups, I'm really excited by just how close this game is as we approach the 17-minute mark. Less than 1,000 gold separating the two teams. And to pull back the curtain a little bit and let people know, coming into this, you said here at Big East, we get stompy games. Like one team is, comes in and they just wipe the other team. That is not happening here. This is dead close.
Yeah, we do. In the collegiate scene in general, we see relatively one-sided games more often than not. But here, that is not the case. The gold just about dead even. We're 17 minutes in, Greyheart, and not a single turret has even gone to like half health. Maybe blue side bot is I'm just going off the minimap that there's only probably about half.
I think that's where the Herald was dropped, if I remember correctly. I think it was around about that place.
A Herald to take half HP, and that's it. Every other turret is basically newly rebuilt, refurbished. It's pristine.
Is able to dodge away from that parallel convergence absolutely beautifully. Burbler even burning the flash, whereas Mac able to survive flashless, able to get away with that hook shot.
Yeah, that was a game of inches for certain. Just a couple pixels off from being caught in that paired up CC from the top mid duo. They would have been able to definitely pick up the flashless Butler top lane.
Massive credit to Butler. You said it earlier on, finding those CS advantages, 30 CS advantage in top, 30 CS advantage in mid, 10, 15 CS advantage on the bottom side of the map. They are keeping themselves well in touch. In fact, ahead in gold in this game as a result, despite being down on kills. Now we see the second Herald of the game has spawned, of course. Not quite as useful as the first, don't have the opportunity to rip through the plates, but nonetheless could gain an advantage in a game where, as you say, not a single turret has been picked up yet.
Yeah, and that's why they want to pick up this Herald, is they'd love to get a little bit more structure damage. Bottom lane's fighting.
Regression Taunt is going to land on the Crop, who eats a lot of the bullet time, tries to turn the damage back on. It's Mizu who's taken the lowest, and another Gale Force sidestep is enough to secure Lundstorm another kill, just as the Herald is picked up by Seton Hall.
All right, Misfortune's on a roll. Really knows how to use that active item. The Mythic working out fantastic for her. Just enough damage to secure that final kill, which should get them additional damage. Maybe, honestly, I think they'll even be able to take this turret since they got that chip from the first Herald of the game. The dragon is spawning shortly.
No turret plating on this turret, so it will go down very, very easily. Lundstorm able to get all that extra gold. Now it's Mac looking for a bit of aggression, perhaps onto Windy Day, stepping forward as a 3-man unit. Butler looking good for their gold lead right now as the third dragon spawns.
Yeah, and this is precisely playing to their win conditions. Butler is grouping up as a full 5-man squad without teleport off of cooldown for Mac. Then he just walks down, joins the team to make their way. They got 3 to go. This is the first of those 3 Infernals to pick up. Goes their way, and yeah, I mean, smart on Seton Hall. They weren't in position to fight, but they didn't force it either. They knew that if they really tried to take a 5v5 at this point in the game, I think they'd throw away all the work that they've done this far.
So considering what we talked about during Champ Select, the way these two teams now want to play the game as we get past 20 minutes, what do you think that Seton Hall need to change up? Because they've not been able to achieve what you said in terms of the dominance that they could have in the early game.
Well, the good news is, Greyheart, that they know what they need to do, and I can tell that because of what we saw earlier with Windy Day going top lane to help Blurber, is they gotta use the Echo to create some kill threat on the side lanes, and the easiest way to do that is a 2v1 situation in top. I think they just barely missed it by a couple pixels of locking down the flashless Mac, but if they can do that again, then that could bring them success, because it really comes down to both Crop and Windy Day having the damage to take out backline with their mobility. If they can't do that, yeah, I don't know. There's a little less hope for them against this heavy team fight composition that Butler's put together.
Hoppy, welcome to the new world that is the League of Divine Sunder. So much damage coming out of that Camille. The split pushing Camille is well and truly going to be online, with obviously the opportunity to teleport to join those team fights and make the full 5v5 later on. We're going to see a bit of Australia lanes coming in now as Lundstorm steps up to the top side to clear up some farm.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see if they actually want to match the 2v2 in top lane and keep the disadvantaged side lane matchup going. I think Seton Hall might be best to try and force a skirmish while they still have Poppy up here. Even when she's half health, she's still really tanky. But, 1v1 on the side lane.
Mac versus Windy Day, parallel to Vunstun is going to connect, buying Windy Day a little bit of time to escape. Mac may have hook shot available, is going to be looking to go forward, looking to land a stun. Hextech Ultimatum is going to trap Windy Day down. He's not able to bounce all the way back because of the Hextech Ultimatum. Windy Day trying to escape, unable to do so as the flash slice is going to be enough coming out of Mac to get a straight out solo kill against the Legacy player.
Ooh, yeah, and the fight happens mid too.
Yeah, and Levi just gets completely bonked. The pillar on the head. In comes the Kaiser. Trundle secures his kill. Please be patient with his first kill.
All right, so Mac commits his flash to take out that kill in the bottom lane, taking Windy Day off the map. But with 3 members mid, that means that Seton Hall gets more on the map, because they're able to commit Herald to get mid lane as well. That's going to open the map up even more for them. For, yes, Windy Day slightly behind the game curve at this point, but now he has more area of the map, more access to the enemy jungle, better paths to maybe make some ganks to those side lanes if they're going to look for that. We're cresting the 22-minute mark here, though, and things are becoming much more worrisome for Seton Hall. I haven't seen Windy Day freed up enough, and when he has roamed, it's just honestly unlucky that he hasn't been rewarded for his roams with some kills in the side lanes. But at this point, he may be too far behind the curve to really be the threat he needs to be, because we just saw in that 1v1 against Mac, I don't think he did any damage. Like, it was all healed back. By the time he died to Mac's flash forward, then Mac was full health and just got to go right back to farming.
Thunder assumes, if I could ask a fantastic production to press the X button briefly just to bring us up the gold leads, that would be absolutely amazing. Might have the opportunity to see them in just a minute on the bottom of the screen. In the meantime, we've got to see exactly what Seton Hall are going to do, because still being 2,000 gold down, then this game slips slightly away from them. Not only are they up against this mega team fight squad, but also Max showing what they can do in the split push.
Yeah, I would guesstimate that as far as top lane goes for that split push, then there's about a 600 to 1,000 gold lead here for Mac over Burbler now. And that's bad news, because this is one of their 2 main win conditions for Butler, is having Mac get to the point where if it's Windy Day, if it's Burbler, whoever's sent to try and answer the split push is not going to be able to actually do that.
Mac goes instantly aggressive. It's met by the bullet time as well. And just like that, Mac finds his 3rd kill of the game. The Divine Sunderer Camille absolutely doing work across the rift. A kill in top, a kill on the bottom side, a kill in mid. And with only seconds until the dragon spawns again, things looking good for a potential 3rd dragon for this Butler lineup.
Yeah, super tough to take this. The dragon's coming up in just moments, as you mentioned. Multiple ultimates were committed there. The Hextech Ultimatum and the Bullet Time, and those are some key components to the Butler team fight, which means if they can actually get the Maokai to show up before the dragon is on the map, maybe they take this fight, and maybe they have just more tools to make a comeback play. We'll have to see what happens.
I think it would be questionable going into one of these dark avenues, especially considering that Camille would have the teleport to join the fight should they want to, a little bit quicker than the Maokai. But we'll see just how Butler play this one out, posturing around the dragon, trying to get as much vision as possible. It's a vision wall that's very much being won by Butler at the moment. This is the 5-man team fight we've been looking forward towards. We're looking for key ultimates. We're looking for Misfortune's bullet time to be back up again.
Yeah, they even pinged it in the chat, said, hey, it's not here for another 50 seconds. They slap someone out with Poppy ult, and they may be looking to engage.
Getting a little bit of zoning down. Orianna able to put down the control mage damage that we expect. Levo's been having a standout game so far. Perhaps the one to pull the trigger with a perfect shockwave could swing this fight instantly.
Watch the flash from Windy Day. He's got that available to maybe have access to Lundstorm, who has a collector in her inventory to try and take this fight.
That is going to be the next stress going down. Maokai trying to start the fight. Remember, it's a very, very squishy Maokai with this support build. MCL trying to peel off as much as possible. Bloodstorm doing damage, finds the kill onto the Maokai. Camille finds the kill onto the Echo. And just like that, the fight is absolutely won by the Butler lineup. They find not one, but 4 kills. They'll find a third. Dragon Kaiser left with nowhere to run. Crop trying to get out to safety. Haven't burned the flash. And the heal perhaps will be met by Mojo Romo. Teleport coming in as Camille wants to clear this one up. But it is going to be a final bit of damage coming in. Camille secure the ace in the nick of time. Third Dragon goes over as well. Butler put their foot to the accelerator pedal and absolutely speed their way to a massive 5k goal.
Oh my goodness, Mac. He's just orchestrating these team fights down to his will. You can see in that last fight what he did was completely distract Crop away from the fight. Completely pulled away the Kaisa, even with the killer instinct, to dive away from the rest of the team fight, which meant there was a significant lack of damage for trying to dive into Lundstorm and Levi together. The tanks did their job of holding the line for Butler, and it was just a matter of time before the entire squad from Seton Hall was destroyed in the river. And that left just the quasi 1v1 of Mac versus Crop, and Crop was really had no chance to take down the 4-0 Camille at that point of the game, and then just gets chased down to his doom. Well played on that team fight by Butler. This is precisely what they drafted for, and everything seems to be going their way.
I'd love to know your thoughts on this one, Superman, because a part of me thinks to myself, had they just pressed the engage trigger just that little bit earlier, perhaps they're able to catch on to Lundstorm. The bullet time wouldn't have been available for any of the fight. But another part of me thinks, actually, the bullet time wasn't the reason that fight was won and lost. So, actually, even with the bullet time down, I think that Seton Hall straight out lose that fight. And that is a worrying sign of things to come as this game continues.
You know, I think you're on the right track, though, right there, Greyheart, is if they engaged slightly sooner, then they may have had a shot at taking out Lundstorm. You can see they caught Levi and Lundstorm with their literal backs against the wall on the bottom side of the river in that fight. But the problem was, Killer Instinct from Crop was used to chase down Mac up over the wall in the tri-brush, and that meant there was a significant lack of damage. The one member, if you can speak to it, that does damage on blue team right now is Crop. He's got a couple of core items, plus boots too. He could have put out the DPS. You saw Levi get to half health. Lundstorm got to half health and got crowd controlled against the wall by the Poppy. There was an opportunity there, but there was just a miscommunication. And now I wonder, is it too late for that opportunity to present itself again? Bullet time's back up. All of these resources are available for Butler. Plus, that gold lead has ballooned to 5,500.
Mac has been absolutely disgusting in this game, running the 5-0 scoreline next to perfect in terms of every fight that we have seen the top laner in. Unless Seton Hall can find themselves a way to shut down Mac, this game feels like it might be donezo. But let's not talk out Seton Hall just yet. They've got some players here with real history in the collegiate leagues. Will they be able to find themselves a comeback into this game? Perhaps it'll happen around Baron.
Yeah, keep in mind that a significant portion of that 5,000 gold lead is in the pockets of Mac. He has to decide where that gold should be committed to on Summoner's Rift. Should he be split pushing? Should he be joining the team fights? He's done a little bit of both so far and to great success, but imagine if he's separated from team fight, teleports on cooldown right now. If there's a 4v4 that happens and the two quasi-assassins, I'm looking at Crop and Windy Day, being able to dive onto the 700 gold bonus shutdown available on this Force Fortune, delete that source of damage from the fight, and you've only got like magic damage dot from Orianna. It's not a lot to contribute. There's an opportunity, a possibility, if you will. One last-ditch effort may be in the cards for Seton Hall to bring this back.
Yeah, you're absolutely not wrong there, Soups, but it's going to be an uphill battle. That is very much sure.
Yeah.
But you know what? Why play League of Legends if you're not willing to deal with a bit of an uphill battle? That's a message I wish I could deliver to most of my solo queue teammates.
Yeah, well, if I ever have kids, I'll tell them I played League of Legends uphill both ways in the snow. You know, I had to try and come back every game. It was always a hero story. That's the way that you got to play a video game like this.
Oh man, speaking of hero stories and playing in the snow, so excited for the conference finals. I'm a big NFL fan, despite being from the UK.
Oh yeah, it's coming up very quickly, just a few weekends away.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. Some really big matchups there. Are they as big as the ones that we're seeing here? Probably not.
You know, I'm surprised to see us cresting about the 30-minute mark. Generally, collegiate games will go slightly below that, but with teleports coming in, they may have caught out the MVP.
looking for Mac already. The Twisted Advance heroic entrance is going to come in, and that's a big old heroic entrance from Gallo, but it's Levi who's caught out. Throws out the shockwave into Sombrero, but it's not enough to stop Crop picking up the kill. Bullet time is going to rain down. Mac being kept alive by inches as Lonston finds the kill with the Collector. Meanwhile, Mojo trying to do as much disruption as possible, but it is going to die yet again. It's the Kaiser doing the work, now finding out Mac. The shutdown comes in, the double, maybe even a triple. Now it's MGL running for the hills, just as this next dragon spawns. A big fight has been won by Seton Hall.
Hey, when your back's against the wall, that's when you get to see what kind of a competitor you are, and man, Seton Hall stepped up to the plate.
Parallel convergence perfectly timed, but it's a bit of a bait. A Windy Day gets shut down by Lundstorm, who is now 6-0-3. The dragon will go, but at least the kill is picked up by the ADC.
Yeah, a little bit of an overstep there from Windy Day, but Seton Hall as a squad really stepped up to the plate, as I said. They knew this was sole point on that Infernal. They can't give it up, and it really was Crop saying, all right, it's my time. I've got to step up, and he did exactly that, diving in, taking out Levi before he had a chance to turn it around.
Crop found himself in a 2v1, does manage to take down the Sejuani, but the shutdown gold goes over to Lundstorm, who's now 7-0-3. One of the things I really liked in that fight was the trigger was pressed early. It wasn't as the dragon spawned, it wasn't as big cooldowns came down, it was just, let's go, let's find that target right now. Originally it was Mac, then they found Levi. That's what I want to see more of from Seton Hall, finding these picks.
Yes. Yeah.
Now they've got to do it around the Baron.
Yeah, we talked about this from Champion Select through the early game. What are the archetypes of these teams? You know, Red Team Butler, they really just want to have a 5v5 face-on-face team fight. That's exactly what they sign up for. Blue team wants to avoid that at all costs. Not that they never want to fight, but that they want to split it up into smaller skirmishes, 1v1s, 2v2s, and really let Kaisa and Echo do their thing. Echo's a little behind right now. He's not able to do it, but Kaisa definitely has the tools necessary to take out anyone from a squishy to a tank with that Kraken Slayer. And that's what she did. Crop with the Killer Instinct dashing in, taking out Levi on the front end of that fight. That's exactly what they could have hoped for to start out that skirmish in the bottom lane, and it really brought them back into this game. That 5,000 gold lead is a little less than that now, and Soul Point delayed for at least 6 minutes, which gives them the breathing room to decide how they want to set up the next engagement.
4 kills in the last 3 minutes, and suddenly the Kaiser is a little bit more than just relevant all of a sudden. I'd go as far as calling them a bit fed. The same can be said for the opposition ADC. The ultimates, of course, very, very different between Misfortune and Kaiser. One of them is about positioning. It's about finding the target. The other is about doing this mass damage, this wombo combo that can be put across with the rest of the team. Let's look towards those ADCs as we posture towards the Baron.
Yeah, you mentioned the Wombo combo. That's exactly what Misfortune's built for. There's very, very low attack speed in her build, which means if they don't get an opportunity for a hero to sit there and press R, it's going to be difficult. Yeah, they're melting the Baron. It's already below half.
It is indeed. In comes Butler, knocks away the Galio. It's going to be, oh my word, the Baron comes through. It is going over to Butler, but they're now trying to win the final back, but they're trying to keep the butt. Crop is trying to move as many as possible, but Misfortune's already bound a triple kill. Windy Day, able to bounce back, but the Quadra goes over to Misfortune. Only Crop remains. Mac chasing down the potential Penta for Lundstorm, who yet again went absolutely wild in that last fight.
Yeah, Lundstorm is just mental. He's got so much damage, was able to channel the bullet time, and now Crop's in trouble too. Or not.
Is actually going to be the demise of Mac. It's going to be a little bit of damage thrown out, but a reset going to have to come in. Crop's going to have to give up at least 1 turret here.
Yeah, there's a possibility with that cannon minion that they'll be able to take the inhibitor. It looks like they'll opt in to set up vision around the upcoming Soul Point, which a little bit of a style choice, I gotta say. No right or wrong answer either way. Resetting and still having the Baron buff means they'll have quite the opportunity to take Soul Point and close out the game from there. Really unfortunate turn of events around the Baron, I gotta say. Seton was a little slow on the draw, not recognizing how much damage that Butler really had to put on that neutral objective, and Baron went down just too quickly for Seton Hall to respond in kind, and that means Purple Worm gives a nice buff to pretty much everybody on Butler who's still alive.
It definitely is. I mean, Camille is going to have the teleport available, so the split push option is there, or they can just look to start brute forcing perhaps the inhibitor turret in mid. Again, massive credit to the team who just went and pulled the trigger. It was the Baron that was started up. It was the slightly slow reaction. My heart skipped a beat for a moment because I thought I saw something come up on the screen that said the Baron had been stolen, but no, MGL secured that crucial buff.
Indeed, and you can see the pings come out less than a minute before that Infernal Drake spawns. This is Soul Point. I would love to see Butler using this as a bait point. Either they secure it and it becomes that much harder for Seton to take skirmishes even, or they win just a team fight around it, whether or not they get it, and maybe can close out the game with the Baron buff still available.
Mac maybe looking to go aggressive, instead just going to burn the Steadfast Presence. And ultimate that I feel we haven't talked too much about is the Keeper's Verdict. Poppy, of course, has the opportunity to knock away multiple members of Butler's team in these fights. And if they can split up this wombo combo, if they can split up this incredible team fight, that could be a win. However, Windy Day trying to dash away, already using the protocol to try and get out to safety. Caught up, is going to go into the Zonya, throws down the Parallel Convergence for the extra shield. Looking to do the damage onto Mac, goes to the rewind, but still gets shut down. Meanwhile, the fight's going on, and yet again, it's a fight that is being absolutely ripped by the Butler team. They find themselves 4 kills. Page will be the final one before the ace is here. Teleports are going to come through as the push to the mid lane will come out of Mac. The soul is secured, and now it looks like Butler's game to lose.
Yeah, they got 40 seconds to see how much of the base that they can crumble away. They've got Soul Point for the off chance that they can't really push to win here, and I gotta say, it looks like game over in favor of Butler. They took the exact team fights that they wanted in the last few minutes, getting them the Baron, followed by Soul Point. They should be able to close out the game for sure.
Ariana pushing mid, does on teleport, decides to join the rest of the team. It's going to be 5-man strong coming forward. Maokai's been first to respawn. That's a lowly Maokai support, and I don't think there is anything that Midza can do to stop the Nexus from falling. The victory in this first game here of the Big East Championship is going to go over to Butler.
Congratulations to Butler, the first win of one of the first games in the first week of the official Big East Conference Championship. It's the way to start the season off strong. Super kudos over to Lundstorm and Mac, putting their team on their shoulders. Everybody on Butler did their job, I gotta say. No, there was nobody heavy that they had to string along for the ride, but Mac won them the early game strong. And from there, Lundstorm just took over team fights with that bullet time.
There were ways to get onto the backline to assassinate key targets, and with all that being said, the Gale forced misfortune. Lundstorm himself went deathless in that game, which is a truly impressive feat, not just for themselves, but also for the team that provided the protection. With that being said, who would you give an MVP of that game to?
I got to give it to Lundstorm. He knew exactly where he could Gale Force aggressively. That got him the early kills he needed to snowball forward. And from there, as you just mentioned, it takes some serious discipline to get fed, feel that strong as an AD carry, and yet play with the restraint necessary to not give up a death. And how many times did I say throughout that game that the comeback mechanic, the conditions of turning this game around was if Seton Hall could find a way to take out Lundstorm in the team fight situations, but he never gave them the opportunity. I mean, he had both summoners up at the end of the game. I mean, this guy was like clockwork in the game. I gotta say, congratulations. MVP from me goes to Lundstorm.
I completely agree with your decision there. I stand by what you're saying, but I do want to give a bit of a shout out over to Mac, because oh my word, what a performance from that Camille top, getting kills in every single lane, massive team fight pressure, massive split push pressure, and I'm delighted to say that we're actually able to bring you an interview with the top laner from Butler.
Well, let's talk to him. Looks like we lost him.
And then he got away. That was like when you have the 2 bounces of the Pokeball and all of a sudden, and it escaped at the last second.
Oh, it looks like we're going to get Lund. All right.
Oh, well,
welcome.
Having said so much amazing stuff about Mac, it is going to be your MVP Lundstorm that joins us. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, congratulations on your victory today, Lundstorm. Tell us a little bit to start us off about the draft today. Did you guys plan to have a really heavy team fight composition like you ended up drafting?
Yeah, that's pretty much been what's working best for us during scrims, during the off season. That's the style that we like to play, and that's been working best. So that was our goal during the draft, definitely.
And then early on into the game, clearly the plan was to mitigate some of the roaming potential from mid lane. How did you guys manage to shut down Windy Day?
Well, it came down to our mid jungle duo. We have probably one of the best mid laners in the league. Not to brag or anything, but He's very good. So obviously, I think he did a very good job of just not dying, all that great stuff. And our jungler is also pretty insane.
I
So
mean,
just two of
speaking
them.
of not dying, you went deathless this game all the way, 37-minute long game with Baron fights and Dragon Souls being taken on the map. How did you not die?
Um, well, I am the best ADC in the Big East, so
Oh,
I
big
mean,
words.
And
yeah,
it's humble too.
it's expected, you know?
Hey, I mean, you got to put your actions where your mouth are, and in this case, it's in the reverse because you just had a deathless game. And we gave you the MVP thoughts, and I mean, you ended with 1,000 gold bounty on your head. That's a pretty great way to start out the conference. Do you expect more of the same moving forward?
Absolutely.
All
Honestly, from
right.
this group of guys, don't expect anything less than a Big East title, so that's
Wow.
what we're going
Ah,
for this season.
fantastic. That's great to hear, Lunstorm. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview. We're excited to see if you actually end up staying true to what you've said here today.
We will. All right, thanks for having me. And
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Wow, that's
Yeah, big
some
words.
big old words right there.
I mean, he's going to walk the walk already, so he's got to talk the talk, and we'll see if it actually remains consistent throughout the rest of the season. He says they're going for the championship and nothing less, and he believes not just in himself. He talked a lot about how he believes his teammates are worth their weight in gold that they earned in this game as well. So exciting things coming here from Butler. Seton Hall, definitely a team to watch as they gave him a run for their money in this game. It was very back and forth for the majority of the match. That's going to do it for us. We're going to take a break. Before we come back later in the day, we'll give you updates. Follow social media to make sure that you know what we're talking about. But we got more games coming up this evening, Greyheart.
We absolutely have. Look forward to bringing you them later on. We're going to be seeing Georgetown against DePaul in the second matchup here for Big East. Be bringing that one back with you, Superman. Lundstorm's just put the rest of the league on notice. Let's see if the game later on can live up to the hype we had in this one. We'll catch you then after this short break.